Is everything in place?
You're already supposed to be in Vegas.
I know, but I think he's really onto something. He's working on SRM.
You like him, don't you, Policy? You've been watching him.
Don't be ridiculous, Cyber. I just can't believe he's gotten this far already, on his own.
They're gonna take him out, you understand that? They'll crush him just like the others.
Morpholus believes he is the one.
Do you?
I think he's capable of managing up to 25 terabytes of data all by himself. Did you hear that?
What?
Are you sure this line is clean?
Yeah, of course I'm sure.
It's Tucci and Rutgers, so I need an out.
Go, I'll guide you.
And now, direct from the Matrix, Jeremy Burton.
Whoa, it's typical of EMC to throw hardware at the problem. Okay, the Matrix. What is the Matrix? Well, the Matrix, it's all around us. You can't see it. And if you can't see it, guess what? You can't manage it. It's kind of like storage, or the storage network. All around us, impossible to know. The amount of companies I walk into and say, do you know what's attached to your network? Do you know how much storage you've got? No. And so that's the first answer, no. The second one is, well, yeah, we've got some of it locked somewhere, but we don't quite know. It's really, really complex. It's really difficult to manage. So why is it difficult to manage? You've got many, many different kinds of storage devices. You've got tape devices, you've got arrays, JBOD, and they come from many, many different vendors. What's worse is there's then a whole bunch of switches that you've got to use to connect the host through to the storage device. Again, many, many different vendors. And then you have the host. Again, many, many different hosts connecting through switches to many different kinds of storage device. Again, from many, many different vendors. Now, the worst bit, and this burden falls on all of you guys, is you've got to connect these things together. It's bad enough that you've got lots of different devices from many, many vendors, but the worst bit is you've got to wire them up to make the system work. Complete nightmare. Also, as well, we don't have enough automation. Anyone know what the #1 tool is in storage management? You got it. Microsoft Excel. The amount of times, again, you walk into how much storage do you have? Don't know. But we do have 6,000 spreadsheets which itemize individually each particular device that we've got and their capacity. And yeah, we've got some utilization on there, but it's not really up to date. We haven't fed the hamsters recently to update the spreadsheet. Complete nightmare. And then you get involved in blame storming in your company. You know those meetings where something's wrong and we want to apportion blame? You sit down and the business person's pointing at the apps guy in IT, saying, hey, you guys messed the implementation up. This thing doesn't work. It's running slow. It keeps crashing. And the apps guys, well, they see themselves as a higher form of life in IT, right? Oh, we do the business process. And they turn around and they point at the infrastructure guys and say, hey, your storage and your servers, it doesn't work. And of course, the infrastructure guys say, well, the business don't know what they need. They say they want it up all the day. Then they say that, well, we can afford some downtime, and they don't know either. It's no wonder that then to manage this mess, you have to be the one, completely unmanageable. So how do we go about solving this problem? Well, the first step of it is storage discovery. So in order to find out what this is all about, let's go back to the Matrix.
It's an honor to meet you.
No, the honor is mine. Please, come. Sit. I imagine that right now, you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he's exhausted from working 80-hour weeks. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Tell me, Leo, do you believe in managing and architecting an IT network using heterogeneous interoperable software?
No,
Why not?
because I don't like the idea of my hardware vendors not being in control of their disks.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something you can't explain, but you've felt it your entire career. That there's something wrong, not with just how you manage your disks, but how you manage your entire network. You don't know what it is, but you know it's there. Like fragmented code for your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The storage network?
Do you want to know what it is? The storage network is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, here, and in your very own data center, and your fellow site. You can see it when you consolidate your servers, or when you're upgrading your Oracle database. You can feel it when you work nights and weekends, when you're backing up your email, even when you're filing your web expense reports. It is an IT network that has evolved piecemeal that is now blinding you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave to the machines, Leo. Like everyone else, you're in bondage, prison that keeps you working mundane, repetitive tasks. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the storage network is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there's no turning back. Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your cubicle, never being able to do anything cool. Take the red pill, and you stay in Wonderland. And I show you how far the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, the Veritas, nothing more. Follow me.
Okay. Actually, before I go on, the guy who is Morpheus, actually Morpholes is his name, he works in our IT department. You're not going to believe this. We got him out of our IT department. We're going to embarrass him a bit later. So what, all we're offering is the truth, the Veritas. What part of Veritas? Veritas Sandpoint Control. So all of the challenges with seeing, discovering, managing the storage network, there are answers in this product. Our mission is that everyone can be the one who can manage the storage network. Everything from discovery, and that's discovery end to end, covering all the major vendors. It is a heterogeneous world. It's not a one-vendor world. Secondly, we want to provide automation, and that's everything from pooling your storage resources to allocating out those resources on demand to the applications that need them. We want to make administrators more productive. The tools to date that have been available to manage storage have been fairly crude. There's a lot of manual tasks involved in doing some of the basic things. We want to change all of that. And then also, managing the devices is one thing, but what about then getting good information back from the storage infrastructure? Because if you've got information, you can then predict what might happen in the future, and therefore you're better able to manage your capacity based on utilization and how applications' data requirements are growing. So Sandpoint Control, everyone can be the one. What does that mean, though? and this is a big aha for most people, we actually have the capability to go out onto the network and discover the different physical assets that you have that exist on your network. Think about that for a second. If you don't know what you have attached for your network, we have a tool that will go out onto your network and do discovery of devices, so maybe for the first time you can actually visualize what it is that you've got. Secondly, I want to emphasize this point. This is not just one disk, one switch, one host. This is many, many different types of tape devices, direct attached storage, SAN devices, a whole range of vendors that we support from one end of the spectrum at the host, right down through the switches, right down through to the array. And of course, the software itself is application aware. You think, well, wait a minute, you're talking about managing storage, that's disks, right? What's that got to do with applications? Well, applications make the world go round. Really? That's what the business runs off of, the applications. So you want to be able to make that linkage between the business application and the storage. Because if Exchange has filled up the disk and then crashes, or SAP fills up the disk and the system then crashes, that's a big, big problem. So you've got to make that connection, not just from the host through the switch to the array, but from the application down to the host, to the switch, to the array. And then if you can see growth over time, you can make sure that you keep those applications running in a quicker, more reliable fashion. And it's not just business applications. I kind of separate out the SAPs and the PeopleSoft and Microsoft Exchange from the applications that actually help you manage your infrastructure. So the Veritas infrastructure applications, you can always manage those with Sandpoint Control as well. Okay, enough talk about it. You've really got to see this to believe it. So what I want to do now is I want to invite Doug Kennard up onto stage. And Doug is one of the most knowledgeable guys I know about the product. Give him a hand. Doug. Okay. Hey, Doug, nice outfit.
Thank you. It's life's rough in the Matrix.
Hey, look, either that or we don't pay you enough. Okay, so what are we going to see?
Well, we're going to start by logging into Sandpoint Control. We'll enter our password here and connect.
Okay, so this is Sandpoint Control. So you're going to do some of that visualization stuff for us?
That's right. We're going to discover our infrastructure, but first we land at our homepage where we can monitor all of our resources in real time, and we can do some management. But we're here to discover what we have. So we click on our topology pane, and there we have all of our resources available to us.
So this is a representation of a lot of the physical devices that are on the Veritas network.
The physical devices, and over here we show a logical representation of those devices. And we can show a linkage between them by clicking on, for example, this host, and we highlight and we can see all the resources that it's consuming within our network.
Okay, so then we can track down from the host right through this switch to the different storage devices that are down here. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So what else does it do?
Well, we can find out more detailed attributes about these devices. For example, on this host, I can click and go down to properties, and we can reveal properties about this particular host. We can see that it's a member of a cluster, it's running Volume Manager, and we can also see some of the information about its operating system.
Okay, so any level of detail I need about any one of these assets, I can just drill down into it and check it out.
Down into this property page.
Okay.
So now that we know about our devices, we can begin to manage them.
Right.
And we're going to do that. As an example, we're going to manage some zones with this.
Okay.
We're going to go modify this zone in the Brocade fabric. And with Sandpoint Control, this zoning wizard allows me to point and click on devices and add them. And this works across heterogeneous switches, so it doesn't matter who the switch is behind it.
Okay.
Point, click, another button, we add that to the operation, and then we get a confirmation screen.
Okay. So this, I mean, as an administrator, just really makes your life easy, right? So maybe we do pay you too much money.
Next, we just confirm the operation. We're going to, moving right along. We're going to confirm this operation and then finish.
We won't discuss your salary in front of all of these people. Okay, so Sandpoint Control. So that, LUN security, I see you've got up here again. Heterogeneous. Looks like another wizard that you've got going.
This is another workflow system, another wizard we have in Sandpoint Control. This one allows you to manage heterogeneous arrays, perform common LUN management techniques.
Okay.
We have other wizards that come with Sandpoint Control. This is our trace route wizard, which allows you to trace out critical I/O paths and actually monitor in real time the bandwidth your data is taking for every hop through the network.
So this is actually, though, running against the production system. It's happening
Yes.
in real time.
In
So it's
real-
not a test environment.
No.
Okay.
This is real-time monitoring.
Okay.
We're going to click over to another workflow assistant. Now, this allows you to query your network and find storage that meets certain attributes that you may want to just get a list of what type of storage you have, or add this to like the zoning operation.
Okay.
So we can go through and we can query our SAN for things like storage from Hitachi. We can further go down and refine our search.
Okay, so I see. So why do you have? I mean, you've got many different kinds of storage vendor there. Why would you have different kinds of storage for different things? I mean, what?
You may have developers that only need cheap storage for their application work. You may need high available storage or high performance storage for applications. So you want to be able to select the right kind of storage for the resource you're
Okay, so you can make sure that you get your best quality storage under your most important applications.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll refine our search by going into storage type. We can select, for example, a disk array. And we'll add one more item to our query. We'll look for a specific RAID type. And here we'll search on RAID 5 storage.
Okay, it's that easy.
It's that easy.
Okay. So anything else that you've got to show us? Or?
One more thing. We've got another assistant that allows you to group your resources by line of business, for example. So now you can track by department.
Okay. So you can provide like a logical grouping of storage resources to a particular department, so you can track particularly a department for usage and how it's growing over time.
Correct. And do
Okay.
the reporting.
Okay, great. So it looks like we're well on our way to kind of understanding what's going on inside the storage network. I know we're going to come back to you later. Change your dot. It's starting to smell. Okay. So what did give him a hand. He'll be back later. Okay, so what Doug showed us, and again, for the first time, you can probably go out onto your storage network. You can discover devices that are attached, and you can visualize them. And there's a whole bunch of tools that are available to make life very easy as an administrator to query what's going on inside the system. Next step, Doug showed a little bit of automation. He showed some wizard-based automation, but that's really just scratching the surface of where we need to go to get control of the storage network. In order to find out the ultimate resting place of automation, we need to take a trip back to the Matrix.
Morning, Leo. How'd you sleep?
I didn't.
You will tonight, I guarantee it. I'm Think Tank. I'll be your operator.
You don't have any dark circles under your eyes.
Nope. Me and my brother Coder, we're both 100% pure. Born and bred storage architects, working less than 60 hours a week in a data center. Genuine children of New Silicon.
New Silicon?
If the economy got better tomorrow, New Silicon is where the party would be.
It's a city.
Well, actually, it's a valley. It's sort of a valley within a valley. It's the only place that we have left.
Where is it?
Down in the peninsula, by the bay, where it's still warm. Live long enough and you might see it. Gosh, I'm fairly excited to see what you're capable of. If Morphless is right, we got a lot to do and we got to get to it. We're supposed to start with these instruction manuals, but that's majorly boring crap. Let's try something a little bit more interesting. How about sandpoint control?
Sandpoint control? I know sandpoint control. Holy IT.
Hey, Mikey, I think he likes it. How about some more?
Yes. Hell yeah.
How's he doing?
10 hours straight. He's a mean, lean, software-driven machine.
I know policy-based management.
Show me.
Okay, so we're going to get to policy-based management in a second. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about virtualization. It's really something that's talked about a lot, but has some significant issues. And the reason why it's talked about a lot and it promises so great is it really is a dream for applications. Again, let's think from the application on down. The promise is that your storage will never break. You can have as much storage as the application needs. You can grow and you can shrink volumes without taking down the application. And it actually gives you better performance. So virtualization, great promise for applications. Now, we do virtualization today in a couple of places. On the host, a typical volume manager software, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, allows you to have many different storage devices appear as one virtual device before you can then provision that storage off to the different applications that need it. And this week, you've probably seen the news around the relationships that we have with Brocade and with Cisco to push that volume management technology, that intelligence down into the network so we can manage it there as well. But there are some significant issues. Storage, virtualization can be a storage nightmare for administrators. Why? Because there's a lot of manual tasks that you've got to perform. You've got to configure the LUNs. You've got to assign them to the ports. You've got to do LUN masking and zoning. There's a never-ending set of tasks that you have to perform, and you've got a decision to make. Well, is it worth it? Well, that is until now, because Sandpoint Control makes all of those tasks, which are really a barrier to entry to virtualization, very easy. You can do centralized management of all of those tasks. And don't forget, you have the same volume management software running on the host that is going to appear in the switch, which means that you can manage the volume management, wherever it might reside, you can manage it from one central location, from one central console. That's Sandpoint Control. Give you an example, storage provisioning. And when you start to talk a little bit about automation and automating tasks, people start to get a little bit freaked out. It's like, well, wait a minute, I don't want machines, taking over and doing things on my behalf without my okay. And we understand that. And so there is an assisted process for storage provisioning, whereby you've got a set of wizards which hide the complexity of the manual tasks that you previously had to perform. But we can do it in a fully automated way. You can fully automate the task of provisioning storage, if you so wish. And in fact, what you might want to do is you might want to set up policies. You might want to provision storage only under certain conditions. So the net is that Sandpoint Control gives you total control over what you automate, where you have manual intervention, and you can make these kind of operations like provisioning happen based on a whole bunch of thresholds that you can set up in a policy. So let me invite Doug back onto stage. Hopefully he smells a bit better than last time I saw him. And let's take a look at policy-based management. Doug.
Smell the same.
Yes, still the same. Okay, so you did a few kind of wizard-driven things before. I mean, we really want to get into something a bit more, policy-based proactive management of systems.
Yes, we'll do that by going back to our topology map, and we're going to drill into this host we were looking at before. Only this time we're going to drill down and look at the file system. So there's two ways to control storage here. One is by looking at the properties of this piece of storage or this file system. And what we can see is how storage is allocated to this file system. And we can see we've got a lot of storage sitting here.
Yeah, 99% of it is free, unused, sitting around doing nothing.
So we can use this to find all of our underallocated or underutilized storage.
Okay.
Reallocate it to some other process.
Okay, so Sandpoint Control can go out, find all the storage that's not used, kind of round it up, and then make sure it gets provisioned to the right applications.
Yes, exactly. Okay. The second way, as you were talking about with policy-based management, we could create a policy to protect this file system should it run out of storage or reach a critical threshold. So we're going to apply this to the specific file system. We're going to monitor the capacity free for this.
Okay.
Here's where we can stagger the actions that are taken by Sandpoint Control, where you're talking about manual or automated tasks. At every level, starting from the information level, we could color code an icon on the screen for a visual alert. We can work our way up the ladder where we have emails going out to an administrator or a group of administrators. But at the critical level, we may want to actually take an automated task.
Okay. So you've got as much control as you need or don't need, exactly. I guess is the net of that one.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Specifically to invoke the automated process, we'll click the configure button, and Sandpoint Control delivers Perl scripts that allow you to configure based on quality of storage and the right amount of storage based on the needs of that application.
And the product actually comes with a bunch of pre-built scripts that you can invoke.
That you can customize and invoke, yes.
Okay.
So now that's been made part of this policy. We'll go next. And we'll enable the policy. We give it a name, click next, and then we get a confirmation screen of what that policy is going to do if it was invoked in the future.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. You're done.
That's it.
Okay, so can we see this policy in action anyway?
We're going to go back to our central monitoring screen, and we do have an alert that's come up on our file system.
Okay, so so you can drill into that and see what's going on.
We can drill down and see what's going on with that file system, and it's actually showing us that script taking effect and actually automating provisioning to that.
Okay, so we've actually forced that policy to be invoked, and the interesting thing is these are all the manual steps that an administrator would have to go through to solve that problem, and we have a script which is just doing it all automatically, it looks.
Automatically regrew the allocated storage, regrew the file system.
Great.
Dynamically.
You're gonna be going on to bigger and better things soon, Doug. I mean, that's amazing. Anything else you want to show us this time around, or next time?
All right.
Okay, we'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so where are we now? We've discovered the assets that we have on the network. We've got some wizards which make life easy to manage. And what Doug just showed us is how we can set up policies to take action on the behalf of the administrator for certain error conditions or certain threshold conditions that may be fairly common in the organization. Now, so we're in pretty good shape, but the thing that we don't have is we don't have the good information out of the storage network, which allows us to really see what's going on. We don't really have any reporting. So Chapter 3 is all about reporting. And in fact, what Sandpoint Control has is a whole set of reporting capabilities that run across your entire enterprise. You don't have to do it one server at a time. You don't have to run a report here, here, here. It will go across your entire enterprise, any operating system, any storage device. The other thing that's important is that you have granularity in the reporting. So which users are using which files on which devices, what departments do they roll up to, maybe what region or what geography are they in. Any level of granularity that you need, we have built into the product. And then most critically, going back to what I was saying earlier, applications make the world go round. You want to link that back to the application. You want to see which applications are growing most rapidly. Why? Because if those applications run out of space and there's a crash, then you're in big trouble. Secondly, predictive modeling. You can produce a model based on what's happened in the past. You can predict when you're going to run out. So it's not just looking at what's happened in the past. It's looking forward into the future and predicting what's going to happen. Also, as well important, Sandpoint Control will tell you which files are not being managed. So which files are not being backed up. Helps you avoid pitfalls when you're managing your storage infrastructure. Okay, so let's head on back to Doug. So Doug, storage reporting, what do we have?
Well, we'll go to our reporting tab here and bring up a report that's showing our different tiers of storage.
Okay. So here we got what, tier 1, gold, and silver. So again, if you've broken up the storage based on service levels that you've committed to?
Based on service levels and based on quality storage. Could be your high performance storage is gold. Maybe your lower performing storage is another category.
Okay. And so does this kind of stuff come pre-canned with Sandpoint Control?
What we do is we allow you to group your storage with our grouping wizard.
Okay, which is what you showed earlier. Okay. And then down the bottom here, I see you've got some growth projections. So is this the predictive modeling capability?
This is predictive modeling. It shows utilization over time based on your current patterns and shows you in the future where you're going to be as far as capacity. Okay,
so I mean, Doug, this is good, but I can't relate to an EMC device or an IBM device. Which people are actually using this, or what's going on inside the device?
I'm glad you asked, because we can actually drill down here and see who the consumers of this storage are.
Oh, marketing. That's bad.
Marketing is using a lot of storage.
Oh, I daren't drill down any further now.
Well, we're going to. One step further.
Okay. Oh, so you actually get the actual file types that each department is using. Wow, we got a bit of a problem with MP3s there. Oh, I hope there's no one from our legal department here. Yeah. Docs and PowerPoints I can live with. And I can get this for every single department.
And you can even drill down further if you want to find out whose desktop that's sitting on.
All right, so we can get really personal about this.
Yes, we can.
So if you're the kind of administrator that's control freak, this is great.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, Doug, we're going to come back to Doug in a second. Give him a hand. He's going to disappear for a minute. Okay, so we're feeling pretty good. We're in good shape. We've discovered what's on the network. We've automated many of the tasks. We've got good information out of the storage infrastructure so we can better manage it. Let's switch gears now and talk about, well, how do we relate that to this notion of a storage utility? And for information on that, I think we need to take a visit back to the Matrix.
He's gone. Goodbye, Mr. Admin.
Leo, I'm not afraid anymore. You know, when we were at Oracle, Gary Bloom once said that he'd take us all to Veritas one day, and we'd help run all of the world's applications with the very highest quality of service. So you see, you can't have a fatal system error. We've got the entire Veritas software stack running here. We've got a flash snap of everything, from your database, to your applications, to your operating systems. And we've got it running right here. So get up, Leo. Get up and give them Service Manager.
No.
He can see everything we're throwing at him.
If he can see it, then he can control it and manage it to the appropriate service
And
level.
even charge back to the business units for usage.
He's broken through our hardware agenda.
He is the one.
The one that can see the entire storage network.
Okay, so we're almost there. So this notion of a storage utility, and I know the theme of the conference this week has been around utility computing. I would actually argue that one of the parts of the infrastructure that is most closely aligned or is operating today in somewhat of a utility model is the storage infrastructure. And when you think about a utility for a second, it's easiest to think about it in probably three distinct parts. There's obviously, at the very lowest level, you've got the pipes or the cabling, the hardware infrastructure. And basically what you want to be able to do with that is you want to be able to discover it, and you want to be able to manage it. You want to be able to use as little as possible, drive down the cost of managing it, because at the end of the day, it's only there to get your data from point A to point B. Next, you need automation. If you want to get the data from point A to point B, you want to do it with the minimum amount of fuss. And then finally, at the end of the day, you want to be able to report so you can see usage. And then if you're in a situation where you need to charge back a line of business for usage, you can invoice that line of business. So the storage utility, as I said, in many organizations, it's in place today. And certainly I see it as the first place most organizations will look to move to the utility model. But we're not done, because the utility in and of itself is interesting. It's kind of a cool IT idea. But unless the utility is aligned with the business, unless you can get agreement on the service levels and the cost metrics that the utility will deliver, then you're still going to get complaints from the business units. And also as well, don't forget that demand changes. Some applications are busy one day, some applications are not busy the next day. Also, you can have huge spikes in demand. You want to make sure that your storage infrastructure can adapt to changing requirements. So what's our answer to this? We have a product that we've introduced in beta form this week, going to be available towards the end of this year, called Veritas Service Manager. And what Service Manager does is it lets the infrastructure folks in IT define policies, define services that they're going to provide and be held accountable to. Now, you want then a convenient way of publishing those services to the applications guys within IT so that they can take those services and they can deliver them out to the lines of business using applications. And not all applications are created equal. I know in marketing, for example, the website is a pretty important application to marketing. The call center software, which our telesales people use to qualify leads, pretty important application. It can't crash because we've got customers on the phone and it creates a bad customer experience. Something like planning marketing campaigns, important, but can we take some downtime? Absolutely. So it's important to get agreement, not just on the very highest service level, but the service level which is just right for the particular application. Because don't forget, your service levels can be too high for certain applications as well as too low. And of course, then what you want is you want measurement out of the system. You want to be able to query from a single source of truth, actuals versus promised. And this is where most of the consternation and debate comes from within organizations. Hey, you said you were going to do that and you didn't. Well, what do you mean I didn't? We did this. Well, where did you get that from? There's a lot of debate about actually what happened versus what it was agreed upon. So measurement out of the system is a critical piece. And then finally as well, if you're in some kind of scenario where you're going to do chargebacks, again, you want it to come from a single source of truth. Why? Because I know, hey, the first question I'm going to ask, if a big charge from IT appears on my marketing cost center, I'm going to say, well, where did you get that number from? And am I being treated the same way as the finance guy or the sales guy? Why is my allocation so big? Where did you get that data from? If it's all coming from the same place, you can get out of those disagreements and discussions. And then finally, alignment with demand. Gary gave an example yesterday about if you turned a tap on and you just got a drip, 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 you wouldn't be that impressed. And in fact, if you turned all the taps on in your house and only one came on and started dripping, you wouldn't be that impressed. If you're going to operate like a utility, you have to be sensitive to fluctuations in demand. And you want to be sensitive before you get to a point of a system crash. You see, Veritas for a long time is focused on fixing the problem once something's broken. Yeah? Showed him a demo yesterday. When a data path breaks, we can take action and fix it. Great. But that's too late in a lot of cases. Why can't you be more proactive and understand what's going on in the application before the end user notices? Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if you can detect a problem, you could diagnose it, and you could then pursue corrective action before you end up in the event of a system crash? And that's really what Precise software gives us. What Precise does is a great job of instrumenting the application. It's sensitive to fluctuations and changes in performance. It can diagnose the problem and then nudge the Veritas or Jariva software to take action on behalf of the administrator. So where we're headed with these utility systems is that they're going to become fully automated. And again, you can have the machine. It's not going to end up like HAL on 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it doesn't even let you in the door in the morning because everything's taken care of. But as time goes by, you'll find that more and more of the infrastructure is automated. And it's down to software like Precise, which is going to instrument the IT stack and really give us eyes and ears into the application and let us know when something bad is about to happen. Okay, so final demo. Let's have Doug come back up here and see this Veritas Service Manager. Doug. Okay, been a busy day for you.
Life in the Matrix.
Okay, Veritas Service Manager. This is a new product.
This is a new product coming out that's going to further enable the ease of administration. We'll log in.
Okay, take a couple of seconds to log in here. Now, this is some kind of IT portal, right?
Service requests can be submitted through any consumer of IT, so they can submit their request for services here. An example of doing that is establishing, for example, a service level agreement.
Okay.
So what they would do is simply click on the service level management tab, and we can go in and we're going to set up a service level agreement. So I'm going to open up a ticket. It's going to be a platinum level SLA.
Okay.
And we're going to apply it to, say, the equities line of business.
Okay.
Part of that SLA I can define is an auto provisioning task. We can select the file system if we want, or an application. We can select the quality of storage, the quantity, and set a condition. And in this case, we'll do less than or equal to, say, 20%. Hits that threshold, automatic provisioning takes
That's going to ensure that in that platinum service level, utilization never gets above a 20% threshold, for example.
Correct.
Okay.
Also, well, we'll also select the host we want to apply that against. But then we can also schedule backups to run as part of this service.
Okay, so it's not just kind of raw infrastructure that you can build into the service level. It's actually value-added services that IT would provide, like backup.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here we will set up an incremental to run starting at, let's say, 1 o'clock. And the latest it can start is, let's say, 1:30.
Okay.
We want to keep that for a week.
Okay.
We can run a full schedule and then simply submit that request and have the underlying applications fulfill that.
Okay, so that's setting up the service level. What about the scenario then when we've measured actuals and we want to claim some of that money back, or we want to have the business appreciate just how valuable IT is so they can see where their money's going?
So we can create chargeback reports based on lines of business, and in this case, we just happen to create one for the marketing department, and it's based on storage. You can based on cost per megabyte, based on service levels that you've set. So we'll click finish, and we'll see that we're going to be charging back marketing.
Okay, and this is typically done in a variety of different ways. Some people actually are very formal and give something like an invoice, not unlike a utility bill, and some people just do kind of allocations. But it really is up to the administrator as to how far they want to go on this.
All right, they can refine those queries and chargebacks.
Okay, so that's our storage utility.
Yes, and
Doug, this looks, so we're going to go back. Wow, this is looking like it's getting...
I have to go back to the matrix.
Okay, it looks like our storage network is getting out of control here. All right, give Doug a hand. That's his final demo for today. Okay, so what do you get out of this? Sandpoint Control, it's the product that you need to be the one and manage your storage network. It does discovery from end to end, covering all the major vendors that are out there. Automation, get better utilization out of your hardware. Buy less disks, do more with it. Automate a lot of the common tasks, set up policies. Storage reporting, give you insight into what's going on, which applications have used which storage, how are they projected to grow over time. And then finally, in conjunction with Service Manager, you can roll a lot of that up into a service level view that not just the technical folks in the organization can understand, but actually management can understand. Allows you to get alignment with the business units, because at the end of the day, a utility is only useful if it's aligned with the business needs and if it can adapt to the business needs. Now, if you want more information, you can see all of this on the Veritas Architect Network. It's an online community, really, where you'll find out everything that you need to know about Sandpoint Control. Everything from provisioning to policy-based management.
Jeremy, it is time we return to the matrix.
Okay, work is never done. Have a good conference.
I know you're out there. I can see you now. I know that you're skeptical, afraid of change, afraid that you'll remain chained to the machines. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to leave this stage, and then, in the campgrounds and show floor and the next breakout session, I'm going to show you something you really need to see. An IT world you control. A world with discovery, reporting, automated policies, and provisioning. A world where IT is virtually invisible to the end user. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.